Now joining us live from Abuja is John Bosco, a human rights activist. Good evening.
For having me.
There have been serious impacts of flooding across the country. I mean, what will you have to say is responsible for this frequent floods in Nigeria?
I think one government should be responsible in the sense that government needs to conscientize the people, the masses. Government has to carry out sensitization, on where to build houses and where not to build houses. You discover that some persons, build their houses on floodplain areas where maybe close to the rivers or whatever, and you discover that when there is heavy flood, the houses should be, be taken away. So government has a lot to do. Then also the masses, some persons don't even know where to build their houses and where not to build their houses. Some persons, when they are desperate, they go and buy land without carrying out investigation. How that place is. Is it prone to flood? Is it a place that when you build a house, a slightest flood will wash it away? So that's one of the problems, Some people, because in that their desperation, to have a house of their own, buy a land anywhere without cross-checking whether the place it was a flood-prone area or not. So I think government one has to do a kind of sensitization. Government has to tell the people where to build houses and where not to build houses. Government should also make sure that when they are selling lands to people, they should map out places that are floodplain areas where people will not go and build houses, because you discover that when people build their houses on floodplain areas, it will block the free flow of water. When there is the slightest rain, everywhere will be waterlogged, and before you know it, they pull down houses and a lot of casualty. People will lose their lives, properties will be lost. So I think one, government has that responsibility, to ensure that people don't build houses on flood plain areas. And also, people
By
must...
the flood, I mean, claim that government allocates out this land to them. I mean, does it mean government intentionally allocates floodplain lands to individuals now?
No, I don't think sometimes that government deliberately does that. But some people, overzealous human beings, who want to cut corners, who want to make money. Sometimes they don't pass through the normal process. If you go to agencies, you may not even see them there. So because some people want to make quick money, they will even bring people to sell lands to them where government has prohibited. So sometimes, people may mention the name of government, but in actual sense, if you carry out investigation, you discover that the government did not, sell those lands directly to them. Rather, people of corruption as a result of corruption of people who want to cut corners, indulge in doing that.
All right, now, but lastly, do you think what can be done to avert this devastating effect of flooding? What are the solutions you think should be put in place by the government?
One, government should have a stiff measure to ensure that people who go contrary to all the instructions or pieces of advice given, people who go contrary to that, are punished. If government says you should not build on so places, and some people, overzealous ones, go and build those places, government must make sure that all the structures are pulled down, because if you don't pull down those structures, one day it may cause a heavy casualty and lives may be lost. So I think government should make sure that people who go contrary or contravene the law by building on floodplain areas, must face, the music. Then government should also, like I said earlier, carry out sensitization exercise. Tell the people the advantages and the disadvantages in building or plain areas. You know that anybody that goes down there at his own, peril. If you have your children, if you have your family or your property, one day they'll be washed away by flood. So if government begins to sensitize people on the danger of building or buying lands on floodplain areas, people will now begin to be conscious of what they are doing, and they may not try to or may not go or buy land in such a place. So one thing that is very paramount is that there must be penalty for people who default. There must be penalty for people who go contrary to government instruction. There must be penalty for even government officials that may be out of the curiosity to make money, then go and go contrary to all the
Rules.
laid down procedures by government. All the laid down procedures and rules. Government must make sure that those people face the
All right.
laws.
Thank you very much for talking to us at this time. All right.
Thank you for having me.
And that was John Bosco, a human rights activist.